About to go live on Twitter. We are live on Twitter. Yes, we are. Cool.
Nice.
That was nothing was working just then for the Twitter gang. Do I need to say hello on YouTube, or are we live on YouTube straight away now? Yeah, I think StreamYard was having a flip out moment.
Awesome. We're live on YouTube as well.
I can see it. I can see it. There we go.
Cool. Here we are. On time, almost.
No, never on time. That would be
that's too easy.
Right. Should we try this intro? I'm going to try it without I have to read the headlines, but I'm going to try and read it without. I'm going to try and do it without reading. And I'm going to look you dead in the eyes, peer into your soul, and tell you. Welcome to Command AI, where we press Command F on the internet's weekly news and somehow still can't find our sanity. My name's Samuel Gregory.
And I'm Kavarza, and we are here to decode the weekly chaos in AI web design development. This week, we have Meta announces its dream team, and we are about to start charging AI bots to crawl our content, maybe. And we have Figma IPO.
Warmind, the new AI operating system, looks very interesting. And AI agents for your OS. And Cursor take the lead as the #1 coding IDE. There, I said it. The #1 coding IDE.
That is insane.
But we're about to get into all that on this week's episode. Cool. I only fucked up once. I had to look to remind myself where
this was like my first try. So if you think really I can go again.
You were so good. You were so good.
Thank you.
You want to go again?
I don't know but I think in the edit it's not too bad that I'm looking on the side, because
we'll just AI your eyes to make sure you're looking at the screen. So let us know in the chat if it's okay. 2 questions, right? Whether just seeing the side of my face here, because I've got to engage with Kabarza, but here's me looking at the camera. I kind of want to like have a setup where I can just stare at the camera and put Kabarza there, so I can like whatever. Whether this is okay, and also whether you think this is too jarring, whether you think I'm untrustworthy. Am I an untrustworthy character here like this?
That was just my comment. Don't take it personal. But if I see you with these glasses, I'm like, this guy is trying to scam me or something.
I mean, I am, but you know. Right, I'm gonna tweet about this because I unintentionally jumped straight into that intro. Where am I going? Let's try see if we can bring some people over from LinkedIn. Did you want to start on the meta stuff, or shall I start on the meta stuff?
No, you can start on that, because I wasn't sure. Is this about the meme that I shared? Which we'll talk about.
We'll talk about the meme, but no, this is serious talk. So the actual dream team that we've been chatting about has finally been announced, I guess. And it was a combination of a leaked memo from Mr. Zuck himself, but also a tweet from Mr. Alexander Wang. We'll get into him in a second, but I mean, it's the who's who of AI, those 9-figure signing bonuses, which I've come to learn are actually not lower than the actual salary, I think. I think that's how I understood it anyway. But Alexander Wang, do you know who Alexander Wang is?
No.
So he was the world's youngest billionaire at the grand old age of 25. He became a billionaire, and he was the founder of a company called Scale AI. Now that has its own set of drama, because do you know what Scale AI is?
Never heard of them.
Okay, so basically they crawl the internet. In fact, I've got the website up here. You can see my screen right here. They have all of the AI data and resell it to all of the. I just went into the Matrix.
Wait, you're back, and I noticed that you're back from the stream. Hey, welcome back. We have some.
I've seen some things. I went into the future, and then went back, and then came back to the present, and I saw some horrendous things, but I think we'll have to leave that for another day. Sucked into the
Welcome back.
matrix there a little bit.
So I was just saying that I know this website from their design. That's kind of fucked up. I don't know what the company does. I have no idea. I just know these discs, these designs, they were a trend, and people were talking about them.
Oops, sorry, I didn't realize that would just overtake you. But so I guess StreamYard cut me off here, but Scale AI, they have all the data. They have all the data that all these companies use for their AI. You know, that instead of this is in some ways how people can, or companies can say they haven't scraped your data, because they have not scraped your data. Scale AI have, and they've bought that data from Scale AI, and they're bound to whatever Scale AI tells them. But saying all that, Alexander Wang invented them and founded them, and became a billionaire at the age of 25, 24, I think.
That's
it was
crazy. Do we know how Scale AI works? Like how do they?
Well, they scrape data. They scrape data and store it in vectors and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Standard procedure stuff, I guess. But I mean, I can't say that with absolute certainty, but it's just data. They just hold the data and store it in a way that can be consumed by AIs. I'm sure it's way more complicated than that.
Yeah, I understand that. What I'm trying to get into is you heard about I think it was a case about Claude, about Anthropic, where they bought books, like physical books. They paid for them, and then they took off the cover and they took off each page and scanned it and then fed it into AI, and it was a lawsuit. And apparently they won the lawsuit because they bought the books, they used the content as a fair use. The judge recognized it, because hey, they are not literally copying, the content to give it to you. They are just interpreting the text, and that's what the AI does. But they are probably going to lose the next case, in which they just downloaded a bunch of books.
Well, let's get into that in one of the latter articles that we'll be getting into, but because I think it's relevant. But continuing on with this who's who of the dream team, well, the other guy who's leading it of note is GitHub founder, or CEO rather, Nat Friedman as well. So it's interesting how he was CEO of GitHub and now he's being brought in as an AI person. Maybe he's just a really good CEO. I don't know. But in this memo, Zuck announced or said that Alex was a founder of our generation or something to that effect. So he rates his leadership style. Well, maybe not leadership. Founder is different from leadership. You can found a company, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're a good leader. But he does praise him specifically. So yeah, CEO of GitHub is in there as well. As I say, looking through here, pioneered RL on chain of thought. Chain of thought was a new way of accessing information and processing information. Creator of the O series models of OpenAI, co-creator of GPT-4o voice mode, co-creator of GPT-4o image generation, built O3, You know, all these people are heavy hitters, and I reckon they're causing a lot of jealousy, a lot of turmoil within Meta. But bringing it back to Meta's onslaught to super intelligence, they actually given themselves a name. They call them the Meta Super Intelligence Labs, or MSL, and they are taking no prisoners. And we heard Sam Altman say that's not how you build a culture and all this sort of stuff. As Reimar said last week, winner takes all. And Zuck knows that, and he is throwing everything he can at this group of people in order to get super intelligence. At the end of the day, niceties, I don't know, I'm sounding like a corporate twat now, aren't I? But, you know, niceties can only go so far. So, I don't know. I don't know what to make of this. If we could draw parallels to football, Chelsea did the same thing. Chelsea Football Club. They just went off and just a millionaire bought the club and just bought up all of the amazing players. And you know what? They won. They won the Premier League, and they showed everyone. Well, didn't show everyone anything, but like they showed that you can just buy the best people, put them together. These are professionals. They know how to work. They know they've got mouths to feed. I mean, they could feed a whole nation with the amount they're getting paid, but yeah. Morals are being thrown all over the place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I find this actually to be very interesting. Zuck shifted from throwing everything, including the name, at this metaverse thing.
Yeah.
And now it's all turning into AI. I'm wondering if they are going to change the name to something with AI. Probably not.
I think Meta's still a cool name, though. I know it's to do with the metaverse, but
I mean, it's a meta name. It's meta. It can always stay relevant because it is literally meta.
Is in of itself self-descriptive.
We are getting into philosophy here about what Mark Zuckerberg does, but yeah. So talent is obviously one side of the thing. We know that we know that they now have this. They have unlimited amount of money, and they have a lot of data. They don't have as much data as Google has, but they have a different type of data, which is also very interesting. It would be interesting to know how this work out for them building their AI, because I bet they are going to scrape every Instagram description that you've ever wrote all the way to every Facebook post. And I don't wonder if they scrape some of your messages that are not end-to-end encrypted.
Well, it is worth saying here that you're talking about traditional AI. You're probably talking about Llama, the big one, the big boy.
Yeah.
Now, what they're trying to do here is, yes, they're trying to make Llama a heavy hitter, but they are trying to reach, it's in the name, trying to reach super intelligence.
Yeah.
So that's where the race is. And whether that's scraping data, like I think we have all of the data. I don't know, whatever, scream at me in the comments. I think we have all the data we need for super intelligence. We just need the methods and infrastructure to be able to create super intelligence. So I don't think this necessarily creates more scraping and more stealing of data. I don't know. I think this is taking the data we've realistically already have and re-engineering it in such a way, just like DeepSeek did. They showed us that you can interpret data and run an AI on like half the budget of these other companies.
Interesting take, because I'm talking to a few AI friends, and they actually believe that we don't have enough data, and they don't think that we have a correct or the right infrastructure and also architecture to reach super intelligence. We don't know. Like, there is no direct indication that shows if we continue this path, we get into super intelligence. Because right now we are just putting all the bets on essentially language. We are trying to get to, if we are talking about super intelligence, we are talking about also consciousness. And if we are talking like a super mega conscious, super intelligence being, putting all the bet on language to get there, I'm not sure. And some of the people that I'm talking to, they are also not sure. So let's see.
So I guess my comment, I agree with your friends. I think my comment is more about scraping more data. I don't think we need to scrape more. We need more data, but I don't even think we necessarily need to scrape it, especially when you've got zero day, whatever, where these AIs can rewrite their own foundation model in things that they've learned, so they can self-improve their own model. I think that we need to give it more data for sure. We just don't necessarily need to scrape the internet for it. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
We need data from other areas. We need to give it more data. And at the end of the day, a lot of these models, they claim not to use your data for their own internal models and stuff like that. So again, I don't know enough about this to actually make too much of a comment. But yeah, I was just responding to your comment on like literally scraping data.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether that's part of this role, but I ain't getting paid $100 billion or $100 million dollars signing on bonus. I obviously don't have the
Not yet.
expertise to even comment on. Not yet. Nearly there. I'm probably about, I don't know, 1 millionth of the way there, 100 millionth of the way there. Anyway, let's move on. What time is it? Yeah, let's move on because we were rudely interrupted by StreamYard. So similarly to what we were just talking about stealing data, about scraping, Cloudflare announced Content Independence Day. And in a nutshell, what this essentially means is that the default should be that AI agents or AI is blocked from scraping your data. Most of this article gets into the history of Google, which is basically that it seemed like a pretty cool exchange between Google and you. If you've got a bit of content that you want to get out there, a blog or something like that, Google will index your site, and in return, and people will find you on Google and they'll come to your website, and happy days. There's a bit of a mutual thing there. I mean, over time, it's sort of swayed a little bit with adverts and people gamifying the system and all that kind of stuff. But he does go on to say now that we should, by default, block agents because they are inevitably taking the traffic away from the content that they're now using. And there should be a exchange of money between the content that they are taking it from, which I haven't had an awful lot of time to digest this concept, but I do kind of like it. I like the fact that if they're, it's just a simple exchange of services. I'll give you data if you give me money. And I think that this could grow into something that might mean that, they took us by surprise. ChatGPT comes out and all of a sudden everyone realized, oh, what, for the last few years you've just been learning from our YouTube videos. It was a sneak attack, right?
Yeah.
And so this is what they're, proposing. And I think what's happening is that Cloudflare are going to be doing this. He didn't say anything about the actual implementation of this, but they does specifically say that they want to. They're just calling it Content Independence Day, along with other of the world's leading publishers and AI companies, to default block AI crawlers unless they pay creators for content. This is where they come in and say, well, they're not just doing this for free. They ain't doing this off their own back. They're going to aim to build a marketplace. We'll work on a marketplace where content creators and AI companies, large and small, can come together. So they're obviously going to try and monetize this thing. Thoughts?
This is very interesting. First question. These AI crawlers, what are they trying to do with my content? Because it's one of these two things. One is scraping for teaching the LLMs. That's what you mentioned by learning from our YouTube videos, which, by the way, are really difficult to make. And it's really valuable information if you think about it. It's very,
especially my videos, they're super valuable, like so much value.
By our course.
Watch out.
Well, it's very domain specific. It's not something like that you can randomly just come across or think about, right? When you make a course about, I don't know, React, like your React course, it's not just that you sit there and think about it and then it just comes to your mind and you can output it. You have to try things, you learn a bunch of different things. So it's very valuable. So that's one thing, crawling your data to teach these LLMs. So selling your information for that doesn't sound bad. The other thing is just for not scraping it, but crawling it to show it as an answer to potential, let's say, buyers or consumers. You write a blog post, you basically put all your learnings from like 2 decades into that blog post. We have such blog posts, and ChatGPT, they take it from your website and they they just show a small, like, number, or any other chat app. They just show, that small link indicator that I bet
Good use does.
99% of people never click. So I think that's also fair to be paid. If you're if you are serving my content to consumers and you're charging them to serve them my content, it's just fair to say, hey, give me my share.
Yeah. Interestingly, though, and I do like this, but I'm just thinking of Dia right now, which
I love Dia.
Mate, you've
I have Dia. I'm transitioning.
Yeah. Because this is what I'm talking about with training of data, right? Like Dia, in theory, doesn't need to train on your data. Okay, well, I mean, it will and whatever, but it just needs to know where to fetch the transcript from, what service or whatever, or just go and fetch that transcript from the API or whatever. It just needs to know how to process your request and process the data that it can get. It doesn't need to train, and arguably, it's not really preventing anyone from. They're on your page, right? They're already on your video. Right?
It's not. Is Dia using any API? Because from my understanding, it's just looking at the HTML, just the content. Because if it's on a YouTube video, you see the transcript of that YouTube video on the page. It's already being loaded, so it's tapping into that. Same for emails. So but hold on that thought, because I think Dia inevitably will go that direction to become more agentic. That's just the next step. Like, okay, right now I'm going into my email and asking you to write a reply. Next step would be, I don't even go to my Gmail. I just ask you to reply to that email that I saw on my notification on my phone. And Dia just opens the tab, goes there. Like, theoretically, I bet they already have a prototype doing some sort of like agentic stuff.
Well, I hate to park the conversation because I think we can pick this up on another article we're about to go into. So stay tuned on this one. Put a pin in this, because I've been thinking about this. Yeah, I've been thinking about, like, you asked me like 3 or 4 weeks ago, like, where is all this going? And there are multiple directions it's kind of going, but to keep it like on track with the Cloudflare thing and paying and compensating people for the data and stuff like that, I don't know. I think on the surface it seems fair. Like, it does seem fair that they're training on data, but like, I think someone said from Anthropic, I think even if we completely cease development on AI right now, it has the potential to change society. So I think we're kind of already fucked. Not fucked in a bad way, but just like,
Good fun.
I don't think we can. If for a convenience thing, someone's asking if we're live. Yes, we're live. We can see your comment. We'll get back. We'll get to it in a second. Thanks for tuning in. What's your name? Edan Nidik. If I said that right. Yeah. So it's an interesting proposal. And the fact that they're going to do some sort of marketplace, I'm not too sure. And then how my content on YouTube, are YouTube going to take a cut of that then? Platform fees? Or are YouTube going to take that? Have I signed an agreement with YouTube that actually they take any kind of scraping or whatever? That I've already signed my life away with that. It's interesting to know where this stops or whatever. But yeah, we have had a comment in which we should address, and I'm curious to know if I show this. Oh, nice. We can just show a comment. That's pretty cool. Have you seen Miyagi agents in Webflow? Have you seen Miyagi agents in Webflow, Kabaza?
No.
So yes, I have seen Miyagi agents. I am waiting for it to mature a little bit, but it is news and it is interesting. And it's basically vibe coding for Webflow. And was it Bradley Huber, I think, and X-Atom, I think, are teaming up on it. Bradley Bradford.
Amply.
um,
I see Amply.
they built like an agentic layer in front of the Webflow CMS, which is actually something I was really interested in doing. But it's hard to find the motivation to do such a thing. I think it's pretty straightforward. I would describe it. Would you describe it as an agentic? Sorry, not an agentic, an MCP, like a more complicated MCP layer for Webflow. But seems interesting. Waiting for it to mature a little bit. They've not released it yet. Are you looking at it? I see your face wincing.
I feel a little bit bad for this app.
Yeah.
To be very clear, I have no internal information about like if Webflow is going to release a vibe coding or something like that tool, but I bet they will, and their version will have more access.
Or will they just buy out this thing? It's like, why even get started when we can buy, no disrespect, probably a couple of indie developers are probably a bit cheaper just to buy their tool. I bet they can flash 100K in front of their face. They'll be like, yeah, we'll take that.
Probably. Probably. But we've seen this again and again in iOS and in Android world. This is not something new. As these platforms grow, the community starts developing for them, and these platforms grow so big that they take some of these very essential ideas and they develop it as an internal integrated tool.
Yeah.
And then these apps that one day actually power the platform, they just die out because people just use the internal tool.
Yeah, and it's more trustworthy, more convenient. And therein lies the issue with relying on some platform. And we all are, we're all in some way relying on platforms in some way, shape, or form. I built products and whatever. Supabase goes down, I'm fucked. If some API changes, I'm fucked. I'm not building everything from scratch. I do think we're going to get to a world potentially where we aren't necessarily relying on external platforms, but you're right. The point is that they can see this. They can easily. It seems like a logical direction to. We were talking about it way back when Webflow AI first even announced. So this isn't like rocket science, but it seems cool. Seems interesting. Eden says it's gonna say. It seems like it saves a lot of time. I damn well bet it does save time.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, Webflow was it Miyagi for Webflow, so it was naturally going to come. You are asking for it, like I say, but it does look cool.
Yeah. Cool.
Let's jump to a quick break and we will be right back.
Support for this episode comes from Flowbase. If you are building in Webflow, Framer, or Figma, Flowbase can help you build much faster. With over 4,000 components to choose from, you have a huge variety of wireframes and super clean, nicely designed sections that you can put together by just simply copy-pasting them to your project.
Over 15,000 icons as well, over 1,000 illustrations.
They also have a super helpful Webflow app called Boosters. With Boosters, you can add things like sliders and marquees and count-ups to your project with a few clicks and without any coding. So yeah, big thanks to Flowbase for supporting the show. If you want to try them out, go head to flowbase.co.
And just for you guys, I want to share a discount. Command Flowbase, all capitals, for 20% off any plan. This is a limited offer, so get in there early.
All right, that's it. Let's continue with the show.
We are killing it with segues in this episode, I have to tell you. Gone from Webflow, talking about Webflow, into our semi-Webflow advert. So, but we are about to take a bit of a U-turn. You probably, and this is where we start getting to the conversation of this. Where is AI going? And staying inside of DIA. Warp. I will not stop talking about Warp. I really want to make a video on Warp. It is a terminal. And it can run, it basically picks up whether you're just asking the AI a question, but it will use that to navigate your system. It's a terminal, but you can use AI prompts to do stuff. Great thing about this, I can say copy this file to this location, or move this file, or install this package, whatever, through natural language, and it will, just because it has terminal access, it will do it. This is not about Warp as a product. I just thought I'd drop that in there, but they have introduced AI agents. And the way I'm seeing Warp, or way I'm using Warp right now, is as I'm using it like an operating system, because it has access to my files, because it has access to applications, because it has access to running, because whether you know this or not, the applications that run on your computer, they all are able to be accessed and commanded with through the terminal. I can't speak to what extent they run. I'm going to stick on a fan because I'm bloody boiling. So I can through natural language say, create a folder here, open this app, do this, do that, and if I forget a command, I can just ask the AI to do it. Now they've introduced agents, which I think adds another layer of like I'm basically, Mac OS has Apple Intelligence as far as I'm concerned, with Warp. Like I can ask it simple questions, like as you would any sort of AI. I can choose my maybe it's got an auto button here and stuff like that. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm feeling like Mac OS has Apple Intelligence through Warp. Now I it's a referral code that I'll put in, but genuinely I really, really like it, and I think agents are just going to unlock that completely even further, and it's a really exciting thing. Does this interest you, like the whole terminal thing? Do you think this is
okay? So terminal is not for me yet, because I'm still like getting used to getting into code more and more.
But it's not about code. This is the thing. It's natural language to say open this app, and
when I see these things, typically I'm trying to think of use cases. I'm not sure any like the use case for this, but I definitely see the use case, or like the war that all these tools are trying to win on the OS level, to be the agent that you want to be. I know this word agent is now becoming the new meta, but previously we used to say assistant. All of these are becoming that assistant that we all wanted and dreamed of.
Yeah.
And Dia is the closest to me.
So this is why this is all questionable. That's why it's all up in the air. Oh, sugar. Warmind. Slightly weird name. It makes me think of other things. Warmind OS. Now, this guy, he does this in one take. Fair play to him. English is not his natural language. And look at this. This video just looks beautiful.
Is it like real AI generated? No, real.
I don't think so. It looks really, really good, because the whole video, and I don't want to get copyright struck, but it's like you can see the shadows here. They're moving around. He's just chatting.
Real.
Yeah, I think it is real. And to get to the point, Warmind OS is this thing, and this starts to remind me of Dia. So I think you can give it a bunch of apps that it has access to. And you can, through natural language, if we turn these subtitles off right now, wrong one, you give it the prompt and it can do things within these applications. And it's not just, using the APIs, or it's not using MCPs. It is literally like the Rabbit R1 promised. See that mouse moving?
Yeah.
It's copying from Gmail. Gosh, damn it. Oh, my pointerism is this. It's copying from Gmail, emailing a bunch of people, transferring data over to Excel spreadsheets, and then contacting them on, it's contacting people on LinkedIn. It's basically running a mail out automation. And it's all done through this prompt. And what he demonstrates Really interesting. So it's a layer abstracted further from Dia, because Dia aims to tackle this idea that everyone is in the browser, and they are. But I've got OBS open right now. I've got Final Cut open. I've got mostly browser. I've got Notion open. All this sort of stuff. That Final Cut isn't about to be in the browser. You know, for some professionals, we are professionals. You know, we still use applications, and this is where this is demonstrating this old real estate app, which then this is used by hundreds of thousands of people across Germany. They're not about to update. They're not to add an MCP server to this beautiful piece of trash here. But the AI agent within Warmind can understand and navigate this application. So does this mean that I can stick in and edit in Final Cut and say, just edit this video in Final Cut, or set up a stream in OBS or something like this, or run an automation just to, I could probably do this in Raycast, to be fair. One button click and it opens StreamYard, it opens YouTube Studio, opens OBS. Yeah. And then we've got our live setup going on. All that to be said, where do you sit knowing that? Oh no, one final thing. He is using it on an MacBook. And I'm wondering, obviously Mac famously don't sell or lease out their software. Is this a application? Is probably an application that's running on Mac OS that has access to, you know, or as a virtual machine that can run other apps within it. I don't know. I don't know what the architecture is, but this is.
I think technically these apps can do this, right? So how does it work when you give access through like AnyDesk? You know, I know it's on Windows, but
screen sharing, yeah.
Well, not just screen sharing, but giving access. So the other person can literally control the mouse, the keyboard, enter data, so they can fully interact with your computer. I think even Zoom has this. So I believe like this as a piece of like as a infrastructural piece exists. I believe this is an accessibility option that these OSs have.
Yeah.
So technically, I don't think that's the biggest issue. And I understand this is like a level deeper, actually, more, you know, has more access than Dia. This is the device that could have access to Dia as well, including like other browsers as well, right? But I think the hardest thing that these companies are trying to figure out is the AI models that need to get good enough that they can reliably do these tasks. Right now, they can't. And also that they are cheap enough, because I bet these are like burning a forest for each video that you want to edit, because they have to take a screenshot of your app for every single frame if it's a video editing task, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, but I guess once it's taken those screenshots, it could potentially do anything with that. But your point is taken. I have something to say about the
so that would be like interesting to see how it's going to be tackled. I'm a bit skeptical, because honestly I don't see a lot of progress with a bunch of these AI tools. I see that we went from ChatGPT 3.5 to whatever ChatGPT that we have now. In terms of text, we have close to a miracle. It's a miracle. It's amazing, right? But anything beyond text, I'm not convinced that it's, you know, that level of revolutionary quality. It's still below average, and for these bigger context tasks, I see it's falling apart. When you say go do this, like holistically do this task, I don't have any examples of any AI that can do that big task. Even in Dia, the whole premise and the point is that you keep the context, and it's kind of like a, you know, small window of context, but that's the point. It's very neatly separated. And I bet if you would put all the contexts of all my 200 tabs open into Dia, the system would just, would forget about everything. But somehow our human brains, that's fascinating to me, that we keep that context, right? Like 500 tabs, you still like, you go back to it and okay, I know where I left, I just pick it up. So let's see how that progresses.
Yeah, I think that's where what I was gonna say. It's like I think we need to look at where this is going. It might be the first, but it might not be the best. Like these are just trailblazers who introduce a new concept, a new idea that someone else can stand on their shoulders and be like, huh, they're doing something quite good. Maybe Apple are watching this and thinking, you know what, we could probably build that. That sounds probably easier than personal context, to be honest. But yeah, I think it's the opportunity that's creating. It's the excitement, I think, with all that. Yes, you're right. Yeah, the skill, the ability right now probably isn't there. It's not. We're not saying it's there. We're saying that look what can be done, and there is a live demo. Apparently it's completely live. If I can show this, or we should do this one, shouldn't we? And it's kind of sped up. All of this is just it's a here we go, recruiting workflow. Hopefully we won't get copyright struck on this, but
is this not similar to what Microsoft showed? It was from Microsoft, right? The one that could remember everything that you are doing, but I'm not sure if it was agentic.
Yeah, so that is, I think you're talking about Recall.
Yes,
which takes screenshots of and you can and all it does is process those images and tell you what's on them, which is really all it is taking screenshots of your screen. It can then every AI agent can take an image and interpret it. So yeah, it's cool. It's interesting.
So, we have this.
I don't
comment.
think it's the same though.
I don't think it's the same, but I bet Microsoft can do the same. So we have this comment. I always confused what the fuck is agent. Everyone has different definition. I'm not sure if everyone has a different definition, but do you want to give like your definition? What do you mean when you say agentic?
Agentic is different though.
Yeah, okay. AI agent.
AI agents. I think it's an autonomous, like I'm going to try and say it without saying the word agent, but it's an autonomous thing that's going off and doing something in the background. You can have multiple agents doing multiple different things that all come together to accomplish a task. So you're sending an AI off to go do something autonomously, and it will come back and do it. I'd be interested to know first of all, Kabaza, go on.
So for me, when we say AI agent, it's let's say it a different way. The way I see it is you can do two type of things with an AI. You can ask it, or you can tell it to do it. So you typically go to ChatGPT, chat to it, and you say, what is this? How to do this? And it tells you how to do it. But the next obvious step is to tell it to do it for you, not just to explain it. Hey, how can I find that button how can I change that setting on my Mac? Why do you want AI to tell you how to do it? Why not the AI because if it knows, it should just click it for you and go do it. And the same goes with filling a Google sheet or doing your work for you, answering your emails, buying bread for you. I don't know, like theoretically anything is possible. And that's
perfect. Leave it there.
Yeah,
that's it. I think that's it. Why the difference between asking and doing? I think that's a really nice, elegant way to put it. So how does that answer your question, Eden? Let us know. We skipped around because I thought Warmind was very relevant to Warp agents. Do you want to chat about Figma?
Yeah, so Figma is apparently filing for their IPO. IPO is when you have a company and you want to go public, meaning that people can buy and sell your shares. When you start a company, you start it private, you sometimes don't ask for money from anybody. That is bootstrapping. I'm now explaining the entire different ways of building a company. Another way is you build a company, you ask for money from investors, they give you money with the hope that one day the company IPOs. That means that company goes to public and public buys the shares, and these early investors, they can sell their shares and get their money back. And this is what exactly Figma is trying to do. And all of this makes sense to keep it within the context of, or like to talk about what happened to Figma 1.5, 2 years ago, when Adobe, the beloved Adobe that we all love and praise, wanted to
Love it.
they wanted to buy Figma for $20 billion. That's crazy. They attempted it, but it failed because the regulatories around the world, I believe, they didn't allow them, or I think they made it hard, so they dropped it. They dropped the case, and it was a big hit, from what I understand, to Figma, because they've been working hard and they hope that they can sell to Adobe, and now they would have quite a lot of money. Imagine all these people working at Figma. They've been working and getting salaries, obviously, but these people, they've been getting also shares internally, right? So at this point, they could sell it, but didn't happen. And what happened instead? Adobe gave them $1 billion because it was a part of the contract. So they could, Figma at this time, what they could do to figure out how they can go for an IPO, which they are doing. So now they are filing all these documentations, so showing that they are very I think they are profitable, right? They have a huge amount of revenue. I'm not sure actually if they are profitable, but they have
228.2 million in quarterly revenue and
that
triple
is
net
insane.
income of 44.9 million.
So
I think they're profitable.
So that makes them to be, they are a bit over $900 million per year. So that is close to $1 billion. They are close to making $1 billion, and they are IPOing for 15 to 20 billion, right? That's what I heard. I'm not sure what's in this article, but yeah, that's also a good number from what I understand. A company that is making $1 billion a year, IPOing for 20 billion is not bad at all. That shows that everything is healthy. But let's see if they hit that. Okay, 12 billion. That is a good number. That is a good number. Are you going to buy their shares when they IPO? And by the way, this is not, and we are not. What is it called? Like, this is not a financial
advice.
Do not buy their shares with the money you don't have.
So I just went to dinner with my friend Al. Shout out Al. He always watches my stuff. So give us a comment.
Thank you, Al, for supporting the show and watching.
We work together quite often, and he told me today that he was asked to build a UI. Asked to, and he's not a designer or anything like that. He owns motion graphics and 3D company. But for what he wanted, he was able to produce perfect UI for on, I think, I don't know, some AI platform. ChatGPT. I think he was actually using ChatGPT, which is able to give him a good UI. I think this is only going to exemplify the fact that designers and developers, and this isn't unique to designers, there is going to be a lot less need for them, or there's going to be a lot less of them, because you can get so much out of one designer nowadays. If they're using Midjourney to create this, or if they're prevising a bunch of stuff, if you learn to previs in Midjourney and you're creating draft after draft to finalize a design, you're no longer creating that in Figma. Figma may end up becoming a less valuable and less relied upon company, because you're spending less time in Figma, and less designers are around. Saying all that, maybe I will chuck some money over to Figma. I've been using them for a while. I think we're still a long way off of that. Remember, when I say these things, I'm talking about years in the future, years and years in the future.
Yeah,
maybe, you know. So maybe I will. Cool. Maybe I'll chuck them a few pennies.
On my end, I'm a paying customer. I'm paying for myself and my entire team. It's my second biggest cost in business, probably soon to be the biggest cost in business in terms of software after Webflow. They are like neck and neck right now, Figma and Webflow. And I know it's expensive, but at the same time, it's a software I really enjoy spending time in. And if they could figure out how to do AI within the canvas, I'd happily continue using Figma. And this is where we don't know how Figma is going, and that's why the IPO, I mean, it's always like this. You are never sure how it's going to be, but they are IPOing because right now they are in a good position. And not just Figma, there is no company that is sure about their future. Like, if you look at Figma, okay, you ask yourself, what happens with AI and design? You look at Webflow, what is going to happen with AI and development? We don't know. You look at Lovable, you wonder, is it going to infinitely grow? Is it going to, get bigger or like more feature rich than Webflow? Will it become so much more convenient and good that I use it instead of Webflow? So we don't know any of these. That's the honest answer, that we don't know. So your bets are as good as I would say anyone's at this point, and only time can tell if Figma can win. But I am going to bet that they have a good chance because they have a great team. They've been dominating this space. Like, they have over 90% adoption. That is insane. Like, not over 90% of like companies, especially like the companies who are in this space, they use Figma. That is insane. And I bet that they are making, they are acquiring other companies, and they are trying to figure out this AI thing. So if AI becomes a thing, because still we talked about everything being, still prototypey, but if it becomes like actually reliable and a thing, then Figma will be in a good position because they are investing in it. And if it ends up not becoming a thing, Figma is already in a good position. So I don't think I would not bet against them. And I'm happy to say this because I really like Figma. So I'm also a little bit biased.
But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you still haven't answered the question. Would you pay him a few pennies?
I will.
You would? Okay, fine.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, mate, you're a business. It's not just about liking Figma. As Rymar once said, these businesses, they aren't your friends, right?
Yeah.
They make you money.
They make me money.
You make them money.
Yeah, I pay them because they make me money. The moment they stop making me money, I stop paying them.
Look elsewhere. And and that's why, so it doesn't make smart business sense to leave them right now, because you're making more money than they're costing you.
Exactly. Well, I'm either way excited for the IPO. This is my first IPO. Why am I saying my IPO? It's not mine, but it's like the first company that I'm, so closely involved with. I mean, I'm much more involved with Webflow and, even with the team, but even Figma, I feel like really close to it because I've been using them for so many years and kind of like feels like,
I mean, that's probably not a good sign when it comes to financial sense, because you kind of need to be a bit, objective, emotionally detached, all that kind of nonsense. So but we're not financial advisors. We don't know what we're doing. We chuck money at companies that we think are doing good, and we think there is opportunity there. So I think there's still a long
we vibe code and vibe invest.
We vibe invest our way through life, baby. And I do think Figma probably got a bit of a way ahead of them, especially if they, like you say, keep adopting the AI stuff and they use it strategically, and we use it strategically as well. Like, I think it's silly to like think that AI can just vibe design a new UI, but I think you can vibe design a button, and I think you can vibe design again these prototypes, these previses, to get the client to a point where, okay, now we're at a point where we can go in and actually nail this design line by
I
line,
agree.
hand designing and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so we are on to our final. Are we on our final one? Yes, we are. Well, you haven't said your meme yet. I've just scrolled down and seen your meme. What is that? Should we wait?
I don't know, but do you
Okay.
know the left, the guy on the left?
Yes. Hang on.
Yeah.
We can't
We'll
just talk about
talk
this
about
off
it. We'll,
screen
yeah.
now.
Yeah,
But right now?
We're teasing. No. Go with.
Okay.
We talked about Warmind. Now
We're talking
cursor and
about
tasks. Yeah.
Cursor. So Cursor. Well, actually, this is not a nice tweet. So they've actually updated their pricing. I have not seen their pricing update, but apparently they've gone from unlimited to limited pricing. Well, actually, let's just say the news. The news, they've updated it to 1.2. Don't know where 1.1 went, but they've updated it to 1.2, which introduces tasks. Where is my little notes here? Come on now. Actually, I've just got tasks written down. Maybe I just failed to finish that one. But in fact, let's go here. Let's talk about they've improved the long horizon tasks as well, which means it can basically run for a long time. You can search pull requests, you can queue messages up, so while it's like doing its thing, you can like line some stuff up. I hope that all gets sent as one prompt, because you can save a lot of tokens by making sure that everything's in one prompt. I tend to just draft out while it's doing it and then press enter when I'm done, but sometimes you can accidentally press enter or whatever. So queuing messages is quite nice, and so 1.2 is pretty good. Now the to-do list is something I've been really playing around with. I did some vibe out lives last week, where I was just checking some stuff out, and one thing I've been trying to nail is this thing called Taskmaster. So if we go to taskmaster.dev, I think it's called. Taskmaster is a way to create a PRD, product requirements document, and I don't know, PBS living twinning. I don't know, something's going on there. A way of queuing up, creating tasks for your product that you then get the AI agent to run through those tasks and code it all up and all the rest of it. So Taskmaster is gaining a lot of traction. This methodology of creating tasks for your coding is gaining a lot of traction, and so Cursor now are claiming, well, they've introduced tasks natively inside the UI. More left a bit of, sorry, were you gonna say something?
Can we see the UI for tasks? I think
it's
like freeze the frame, because is this not isn't this not what you showed me? Well, you said that you are making PRD in Cursor anyway. So is this just not a list, a bulleted, is this not just a list of text? And what is so special about it, except
so I
it's
think
UI and being a nice UX as well?
So I think it's a combination of two things. It's reasoning. It's showing you the reasoning, and it's more so that it's planning out and giving you like the opportunity to step in and whatever, to make sure that it's not going to go off and do just some random crap for you. So I don't know if this creates a file, but what I often do, and have I got Warp even open? But what I often do is I ask my AI to create a plan and then save that plan to a markdown file for it to refer back to later on. So that way I can go and work on some other stuff or whatever. Probably should utilize background agents to do this and all the rest of it. So to answer your question, I don't know what the UI is on this one, but I do think it's just the way to now AI assist coding. right? It's
Yeah.
it's creating tasks, it's breaking those down into subtasks, and taskmaster enabled that, but now we're getting it natively. I'm sure you can break down these tasks into further subtasks, to be honest. So I think that it's a welcome addition, and it's just something that more people need to do. I've got a video recorded just talking about like my top tips with Claude Code and how we should be coding and stuff like that. So I think that we are starting to amalgamate, is that the right word? We're starting to just finalize what AI assisted coding looks like. And it's a combination of memories, it's a combination of tasks, it's a combination of planning, and it's putting less emphasis on the actual writing and understanding of code, and more in the planning and the architecture around the lines. I think that's where we're going. So yeah, it's like I say, it's a welcome feature, but I don't know whether this creates a file, but I do like having those files, to be fair, and I'll probably would tell the agent to export this to a file and create a bunch of tasks. Like someone said something, but I think it's basically butchered version of what Einstein said. If he's given a problem, if you've got an hour to solve a problem, he'll plan it for the first 50 minutes and actually execute in the last 10. I think that's where we need to be. That's kind of what they've always said, how we need to code. You should do more planning, whiteboard sessions and stuff like that. But I think ultimately we just get lazy and we just want to just dive in and just make the change. But I think we just need to step back a little bit and just spend more time thinking and enjoy that process of thinking and planning and whatever. We're too used to just needing things like at the just in time.
I agree.
Sort of thing.
Yeah, but to get into the fundamental of this, we say writing it down and planning. All of this is to understand. That's the fundamental issue that we are trying here to solve. To understand what the scope of the project is, what the tasks are, and what each piece of our software is supposed to do. So that understanding is what we've been aiming for. Even when we were in school, I remember learning mathematics, the teachers would say, reading and understanding the question is 90% of the way into solving the problem.
I'm rubbish at that, Loki. I'm rubbish at that.
And it's literally the same thing. And guess what? Even if you get into the writing and making and vibe coding of the software, or like anything that you are creating, even if it's like a physical thing, even that process of making is still learning and understanding how the pieces work together. You're exploring, but you're exploring in a different way. I wouldn't even go and say it's a bad way. I think it's actually probably the better way, because that's prototyping, that's understanding. And guess what? The second time you are doing it, it's much easier. Why? Because you understand how pieces come together. So back to your point, the thing that you said about Einstein, or I don't know who else it was, it's the same thing. When you understand it fundamentally, the problem that you are trying to solve, you can solve it much easier. You know how to systematically approach it. And the second time you write a piece of software, it's order of magnitude easier, because you know how to pull it together.
But arguably, we're getting to a point where we're not solving the problem, that we are becoming I call them shepherds. I've always said we're the shepherds. We are becoming the lead devs, and the agent is we're hiring the agent to do the work for us. But the better direction we can give the agent, the better direction we can give our young, spunky employee, Claude Code, or, coding thing of choice, we are becoming managers, and I think that's the understanding needs to come from the architecture and how it's put together. And as you dig in, you're going to need to know what files do and the nuances of this stuff, but we don't necessarily need to know how to solve the problem. We just need to know how to communicate the problem to be solved in a more effective way. So I see what you're saying. But
I agree.
AI definitely flips the head on actually doing work right now, and actually where the doing of the work sits. Sorry, we are still doing the work, but what we are doing is just moving a little bit.
Yeah. So and that is exactly, that is moving. And like a analogy that I give to that is we are moving from being the pilot, having a co-pilot, to us becoming the co-pilot, having AI being the pilot. So right now we are doing the thinking, we are doing the planning, and the AI is helping us. And now it's moving some knobs and turning some stuff, and it can click a few more places. It's our co-pilot. And it's not, I'm not talking about like the Microsoft Copilot, just in general, is
Yeah.
you are
Damn
in
it.
control. Yeah. You're in control, and the Copilot is doing these things. And we are moving to that direction, that we will lean a little bit more back. We don't know how far that will be, but the AI becoming more of the pilot, and saying, okay, I'm in charge of the plan, and I'm in charge of like the execution, and you're just there to make sure that you enjoy the ride. Maybe.
Do you know what I thought you were going to say? I thought you were going to say we were going to become the plane. I really want to become the plane.
You're the plane. You've been the plane all along.
Yeah, now that's meta. That's we are the plane.
But
there's some TV show that's creepy as hell, where they all these. It's like Thomas the Tank Engine, but for planes. It's really, really creepy. Anyway, that's for weekend watching, just for you guys. Don't know the name of it. Yeah, but I think the kicker, just to wrap this baby up, the kicker has come that Cursor have now reintroduced a limited pricing. So it used to be unlimited completions on unlimited prompts or whatever on their $20 a month plan. They've now, they've moved, say, Claude Floor onto the API pricing, onto the max plan. This is how these companies get you. I honestly don't know how to interpret that from this, but maybe go back. But why is no one talking about the Cursor making the pricing unlimited, then changing it to limited without warning? Check the dashboard, and they charge me $71 for just one day on Sonnet 4 usage. So be cautious. Oh, and they've not allowing API your own APIs, which is actually a bit rubbish, because I think you were able to hack that. And I use the word hack very lightly here, but you were able to use OpenRouter or some AI agent through the custom API solution. Obviously, that seems like it's buggered now, but people are getting 500 errors. So it's a bit of a shame, really. But I can understand why Cursor did it, because I think someone responded somewhere where they were like, people were just running up like huge bills in just one session, and they just literally just could not cover those costs. And it brings into the question, I want to find the subsequent tweet that I found, maybe it's in these chats here, where someone was just explaining that, having this token-based pricing is confusing AF to try and follow and understand, and it's unpredictable. We try and simplify it by saying, hey, we're just going to cover the cost, and we're just going to say per message. That's basically what they did here. But people are just hammering it, and they're just not able to cover the costs, quite simply. I'm still looking for this tweet that basically explained that, but I'm not able to find it, unfortunately. I'll probably flash up on the screen if I can find it later on. But we're in a sticky situation where either Anthropic needs to become cheaper, or, well, I don't know. I think Anthropic just needs to become cheaper, really. It's just so bloody expensive.
It's very interesting. Like, even with the current pricing, from what I understand, all of these AI companies are losing money, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, now you're raising a really important point. Here's the worry that they're all losing money.
That is very interesting, because where is this going? Like, okay, it's getting cheaper, like the smaller models, but we still see a huge amount of like context needed. We
Mhm.
need a lot more tokens, and we are still nowhere close to making big jumps. So it's very interesting,
Mhm.
and it's a bummer because I like Cursor. Are we going to keep our plan, like the cheap plan that we got?
I friggin' hope so. I friggin' hope so. But I would pay for it anyway. Actually, I don't know, because this is off topic completely, but I've been thinking more and more, and we started briefly talking about it at the beginning of the episode, more and more about running local models and having a machine powerful enough to run local models. I think we were talking about like how many forests are we burning down by running all this stuff and all this. Like, I think the answer will be that people will become, well, no, I don't think the answer, that's just me being hyperbolic with my statements. I think that there will be a large chunk of people that running your local, because it's really easy. I've got a video out on running a local LLM. I'll have another video coming out on running a vibe coding on a local LLM. Fortunately, my machine just isn't powerful enough, but I would like to have a setup where I can just run local thing. I don't have to rely
What
on
do
a
you
server.
need? So I have a
GPU.
4090 Ti here laying
Mhm.
around.
Just
I
try it.
think
Just give it a go. Give it a go. That's a PC, right? That's a
it
PC
is
thing.
a PC, and my
I think you just
power
need a
is
llama. I think you just need a llama and open web. Like, just
I
100.
my power is 1,000 watt, and my electricity bill is comparing the size of my apartment and
Mhm.
everything I do is pretty low,
Oh,
mainly
okay.
because I don't use that big as PC. I sometimes
Mm,
at night I game with it, but it's like a short amount of time, and
mm,
mainly I use my MacBook, and it's like just using
mm.
30 watts. That thing is going to eat at least 300 watt at its base. So my
Have you seen
electricity
that?
bill will be
Have you seen
more.
that PewDiePie video where he's
I have
moving
it
off
on
of
my watch
Google?
list.
It's
Yeah.
really good, really interesting. It's really inspired me to think, if this doofus can like run
He has
everything,
become a
basically
yeah, yeah, sorry. Go on.
um, running everything off Raspberry Pi. And I wonder if there's a world where you can run your local AI off a Raspberry Pi. Obviously, you need your GPU attached to it, but I'm talking about basically removing any kind of unnecessary. Like, I don't think an LLM needs CPU, so it's just all in the GPU. So maybe it's doesn't
And
need
it
a
needs
screen, doesn't
VRAM.
need. Sorry,
It needs VRAM as well. A
but
lot of
isn't that in
VRAM.
the GPU though?
Yeah, it is, but it needs a
Mm,
lot of it. And like
yeah,
Mac is in a good position because, like have you seen those Mac mini farms?
no.
It's like a room with 1,000 Mac minis in it,
Mm-hmm,
because
mm-hmm,
they are a really good value for the price, because you
mm-hmm.
get 16 gigabytes of like RAM, which is the same as the VRAM for the GPU. So like the LLMs can tap into that.
Mm. Anyway, what were you going to say about PewDiePie?
He's becoming a full-on engineer, it seems like. And I think that's really cool. But what worries about me, or like what doesn't work for me with trying to running my models locally, is I hate to say it, but I like to maximize. I'm not a minimalist.
What
I
do you
like
mean?
So if you give me, if you give me a model that runs on my PC and you say this does 98% of what you want to do with it, it's powerful enough for that, and in return you wait just a second for the answer, or you can have this model from OpenAI that costs some money but it does a little bit more. I pick the one from OpenAI.
You're
I
the
want
one burning
the
down the
most, the
rainforests.
best one. I want to burn down all the.
Yeah, you're the one in the cinema with their phone on max friggin' brightness, 120 hertz screen all the time.
Yep, yep. I want to
I'm not
maximize.
I'm not saying that you have to make any sacrifices. I'm imagining a world where people will be more inclined to run local LLMs, and I think we might get to a point. You've got GPU? You got a friggin', I don't know what
Yeah,
price point that GPU's in, but like,
4090 Ti. It's
well,
like
if you're a
really
maximalist, it's got to be the best, right?
it's well, it's the second best because it's from last year, but or like
Okay, fine.
1.5 year ago. And
Yeah, yeah.
they now have the 5090, which are like
Mhm.
huge and expensive and not like not that much better. But yeah, it's
What?
I'm worried that the quality won't be the same, and I'm worried that if I do this, I see another model that is significantly more capable and my PC can't handle it. So I have one of two choices. I have to either go back to these platforms that burn forests to use their model, or I have to burn the forest in a different way by upgrading my PC. And I have a
Mm,
friend, a developer friend. He has, you take my graphics card, I believe he has 6 of them now. He's building a rack at home, literally, and he
mm,
has trouble like figuring out the electricity for it.
mm,
These things eat up power. And one potential interesting story that we can maybe sometime cover. We need to go and learn about it, but I'm like genuinely interested in it. It's not news. It's about how these companies handle these really big like infrastructure tasks. Because when I've learned about a little bit about XAI and Elon Musk, they are going nuts with creating these basically warehouses to house all of these GPUs, and there are tons of like engineering challenges that they have to overcome in order to to run them with the right amount of electricity, to get the electricity in the first place, because the grid is not ready for it. So
mm.
in term for XAI, I've heard that they are burning fossil fuel at the factories, at the warehouses. Like they have a bunch
Wow.
of generators because that's the fastest way you can do it. And I've heard even that other companies are doing similar things because the grid cannot handle this amount of energy. So they are burning literally like gasoline at that place that they are located in, because also the land is cheaper there, right? So they have all of this, and they buy a bunch of carbon credit so that they can offset the
Offset it.
carbon. It's
Mm,
like crazy the things that are
mm.
going on with on that regard.
It's
It's
like
easy for
Bitcoin
us.
mining all over again, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it's easy for us to just say, well, these are very expensive. And if we look at it, yes, it is expensive for a reason, and you see, holy shit, it could be even more expensive, and there are like a bunch of more work to be done. So that makes me kind of like hope that even though AI is like on one end trying to come for some jobs, there are just we
Mm.
humans figure out infinite amount of jobs to create somehow. I don't know, but let's see about that. But yeah, a lot of engineering challenges.
It starts to put me in a really dark place when I start to think about all this stuff. So I think we should stop there.
Yeah. So speaking of engineering and talent, I want to share this meme. I don't know if you have, well, I see
Hang
your
on.
screen.
Boop. Can you see your screen? There we
Yeah.
go.
Now I see my screen. So don't know if you've seen this. On the left, we have, so forget about becoming the next Ronaldo. The new meta is becoming AI engineers. So
How to
apparently
do that?
Meta has paid $100 million to this guy, and just to join them, and who knows how much he's getting paid a year. He's getting paid quite a bit more than Cristiano Ronaldo.
I mean, I cannot overstate how incredibly, if you don't follow football, Cristiano Ronaldo is so famous. Like
Yeah,
football is just a monster of a sport. Like if you're in America, which a lot of my viewers are in America, I don't think you can comprehend football as a sport in the rest of the world. Ronaldo is just absolute, just I don't know, how would you describe him? Like it's just so famous, ridiculously famous. And for that to be for this guy to be paid 20 million on top of that is something.
It's insane. He is literally the most followed person on Instagram with 653 million followers. That's insane.
That's insane. That's more subscribers than Mr. Beast has.
Yeah. He has more than 500 million followers on Instagram, and he has, I think, a few billion followers across all his social media. I think it's over 1 billion. I don't know if it's a few billions, but I know it's over 1 billion, right?
And here's the thing, right? Arguably, Cristiano Ronaldo does not contribute a huge amount to society to warrant an $80 million signing bonus, right? To Man United.
Well, arguably, it's entertainment, and the argument is like, yeah.
And also, you need to remember that imagine you were working for a company and you knew you were making them hundreds and hundreds of $billions and you were getting paid a salary of 20,000 or whatever it is, right? But you knew you were bringing to that company hundreds and hundreds of million. You want a piece of that pie. This is my argument for why footballers get paid a lot of money. You would be livid if you knew you were bringing in so much money and you were just getting paid a tiny. I bet Ronaldo is getting paid a tiny chunk of that money that both FIFA and Man United bring in. It's pocket change probably. So fair play. Who is the guy? Yahoo? You? I don't know how to pronounce that. You. He's probably going to be contributing a lot more to humanity than Ronaldo ever would.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, especially if it depends on how you value things. But I think we agree on this premise, and I think he brings a lot more. And he's getting paid a lot, and it's very interesting because Meta is obviously they are making a shit ton of money. And the people who are working at Meta, they are not getting paid too bad, especially the ones located in the US or North America. They are getting paid pretty well. But a lot of people at Meta, they are not getting paid really that handsomely. But this guy, because he is apparently really good, I don't know anything about him. I just know he's a AI researcher. Meta is trying to hire him from, take him away from OpenAI. So they give him 100 million signing bonus. I believe it is in form of, some of it is cash, some of it is shares in the company and things like stocks like that. That is very interesting. And this is, again, yet another week and another reference to Silicon Valley, the show. They literally do this. That show is just like going insane, especially nowadays with age of AI. So like a slight kind of like spoiler. It's not exactly a spoiler because you don't know the show, but one of the companies hires people and doesn't give them tasks. And these people, they just go on the roof of that, office in the company, and they spend all day doing literally nothing. They are actually dying out of boredom. And these are like people that get hired just to stick it to the competition.
Oh, really?
That's the only reason.
I mean, AI researcher, like, it sounds so like, what are you doing? Like, can't you get AI to do your own job? Isn't that
yeah, just doing some mathematics. Well, in this case, this guy is obviously going to do something. It's not just to stick it to the competition, but I bet that's a part of the deal as well.
Probably. Let's wrap it up there.
Yeah.
Good episode. I've noticed we're both wearing white as well. We're becoming one.
Yeah. Becoming one. Well, we might already have become one for non-English speakers if they are listening
That's
to
true.
us.
That's true. Hola.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello. Auf Wiedersehen. It's really messing with the dubbing. Cool. Well, I've got some drinks tonight with a friend, and then tomorrow I'm going to see Oasis. So that's going to be my weekend.
Yeah, cool.
Got
Awesome.
an exciting one. Cool. Cheers for tuning in, everyone. As always, like, subscribe, buy my course. I don't have a course. No, I do actually. I do have a course.
Yeah, it's
whatever.
Good one. Yeah.
Jokes. Keep on
And
vibing.
peace out.